5 years to date, our garden was built on carbon and nitrogen. Crazy, right? So, welcome back to Seedlings, the beginner's guide to literally everything homegrown. Today, we're showing you how we used or how we turned our dead soil into what we currently have. But before, outfit check. I'm wearing overall pants today, my long sleeve top, and I've covered my hair. And I'm getting into the swing of this because the bags that are coming out of my head, guys, I am not ready to be washing my head daily. So yeah, I'm doing this to kind of protect my head. So basically 5 years ago we just had grass, and today we're going to use our toilet paper rolls, some shredded newspapers. You can use cardboard, we don't have. You can even use like paper egg cartons, we don't have currently, and also brown paper bags. So these are some of the things we've used in the last 5 years. You must just make sure that you shred it really well, or you just tear them into small pieces, or if it's a little bit harder, just like cut it up. We do have a scissor on hand. So obviously just for this one, I'll be using a lot of toilet paper rolls and just dry leaves. We've used a land mower to kind of shred it. So that's what I have for this video. But as I've written out, those are some of the stuff we've used throughout our gardening journey. So basically our soil was like dry. It just had like 3 trees actually in this area, and our grass was like on and off season, so it's not even like it was great planting, but we kind of just had to start it from scratch. So that's the big thing, is that you have to kind of find the area you want to work in, and then you have to do the hard work of turning the soil. And I think that's the big thing, is that since 2020, yeah, you heard, since 2020, we've kind of just been doing that. We've been turning the soil, and that's a big thing. If you have it and you plant the seeds, shout out to my little sister, the true pioneer, but if you plant the seeds, it's guaranteed, your satisfaction will be guaranteed, that one day you will be reaping and eating off just from your garden. Okay, so you do see I am trying to remove the toilet paper from the roll, because obviously toilet paper doesn't decompose as nicely as the cardboard. So that's why I think we're stepping back and allowing people to not just see the finished products, but understand how we got you. Okay, so I've marked out an area about 6 feet, which you'll see me work in now, but I'm only placing my food scraps, so both my nitrogen and my carbon, into like mid section, so like into like the 4 feet mid area, and then I'm kind of hoping that like the nutrients will cover the 6 feet. But then that's the big thing, you have to really demarcate or like close off the area that you're putting nutrients in, because the soil is still dead, you're not going to see it. So let me just bring everything close so that you can just like step in and do this with me. All right, so I am just going to use a shovel, which I'm grabbing. I'm going to use just a shovel, just me, and then like I said, my nitrogen and carbon, which I'll go through now. So we have to kind of dig a hole. So I am very big on this, because you are like bringing rodents if you just put it on top of the soil, and it takes longer to decompose. So you did see like a few weeks now I've just been piling all this like food here, because I knew it has to be done. So now we're doing it together. So we're gonna dig deep into it a little bit, and I think that's also been one of the hardest parts of starting the garden, is that I feel like I'm such a tiny girl, like I don't have the back for this. But I think once you start and once you see like the fruits of your hard work, it's worth it. And I think that's life. At the beginning of anything new, you're going to be putting in a lot of work, but you can imagine all this digging I don't have to do once I keep my soil and I rotate my crops correctly. So here we are digging in again, bending at the knees, trying to use my entire body to kind of really get in there. If you can see a little bit, there are even sticks, like millie corn sticks, the corn from the previous season that we've tried to allow to dry up. We also have a little bit of like beetroots in there that we like have harvested, but we like not gonna eat, so we just break it up, return it back into the soil. But I'll repeat it as well just a little bit later on once I put things in the soil. But yeah, just as you kind of see, the soil does have, because I've just been like hiding some of my scraps in there, but now we're doing it properly. So again, we're going to dig a hole big enough, break down anything that looks big. Like I told you, we do still have some of our millie stalks, so I'm kind of breaking those stalks down. So I'm kind of just digging a hole. I also try to work in the morning or in the late afternoon so that the sun doesn't do the sun on me. So you can see that like the lighting might not be the greatest because it is a little bit like setting the sun, but it's still good work. So the first thing I'm going to actually put into my soil is nitrogen. So these are my greens. These are my green leaves. These are my salad-like greens. So think of it that way. So we basically we're adding our cabbage, but it's like a salad-like green, all right? So as you see, I'm doing my cabbage. And like I said, we have our corns, stalks that we previously had, or even the cobs of the corns, actual corn or the millie meal that we haven't used. You can also put that in there, but just make sure to break it up because you want to break it up into smaller pieces, making it easy for all the dying bugs to help it die or decompose. Maybe let's not say die, let's say decompose. To decompose nicely. So I am trying to ring so that it breaks my cabbage into pieces. Another thing that we actually used previously, you'll see in another video, is vegetable peels. Fruit scraps as well. So my baby doesn't eat the peels of an apple, so all of that gets added into it as well. Just be careful if you are going to be adding your citrus stuff. So be careful if you are going to be adding your peels, not to add too much. So there's my layer of greens. Then I'm going to put a layer of my brown. So we go green, brown, layer, layer, layer. So our greens again was our nitrogen. Our browns is our carbon. So I do slightly add more browns and greens. And just in our experience, when we add too much greens, we struggle with pests. So for us, it's worked quite nicely in the last few years to just always have a little bit more brown. All right. So I'm adding some eggshells, as you see, and that is actually a little bit more calcium than nitrogen, but I put it in my nitrogen pile. So yeah, so we'll just kind of add some of our greens. Make sure you break it up as best as you can. Again, remembering, greens is nitrogen, so we don't want that too much, but we want enough. And then when you add your carbons, just don't add glossy paper or inked cardboard, or like you saw, I was removing the tissue, or even painted wood. So even wood, you can add wood chips, but just make sure the wood hasn't been painted or worked on. Okay, so as you can see here again is the carbon that I'm adding, and as you can see, there is nothing painted on it. So your Weet-Bix boxes, your cornflakes boxes, those looks like card box, but because it's painted on, you're not going to use it. All right, so now you can see we actually at ground level. So I went through 3 layers, and now we're at ground level. So you could have definitely went deeper if you had more kitchen scraps to put in, but I don't have a lot, and I'm not going too deep. So also, as deep as you go is as long as your root crops will grow. Okay, so generally never add meat into these things, bones, dairy, any cooked food, because that is spoiled food. And again, the big thing is don't add plants with diseases. You'll see as you start your home garden, like you see, we had too much cabbage. So we put the cabbage back in the ground because we're not going to eat it. It's going to be wasted. But if you start having powdery mildew, which you can check in another video, that is a disease. So you're not gonna then save those leaves. Okay, you're gonna chuck those leaves in the bin because you want that disease to die. We've also had some diseases actually in our crop that once we harvested, things that weren't supposed to be. So foods like that you can't eat, you actually need to chuck them. Okay, so you don't want to keep allowing that pest to grow, so you must kill it. So make sure it's healthy things that you're putting into the soil, because at the end of it, all of this that you're seeing here ends up in your tummy. So in previous areas, we've actually used coffee grounds as well. Before I forget, you'll see in another video as well, we use our tea bags. And we actually use actual fruit. So like I tell you, sometimes it's too much, and so we just add it in the ground. And a big one actually is our sprouted potatoes. So I don't know if you guys ever bought like a bag of potatoes. We have a few times, and when you open it, like the potatoes have started growing within the bag. So stuff like that we wouldn't throw away. We would like cut the potatoes up, again increasing surface area, and then put them into our ground to help balance out the nutrients. So yeah, so that's another thing, is that just also make sure that you're not obviously just chucking random things in random parts of the garden. But as you see, I'm going to be taking like 6 weeks to keep layering on the same area until this ground is nice, and then I move on to another area. A lot of people obviously use your bins, which are great. And as you can see, we are running out of space now in our garden, so that's why we would use our bins. But obviously, if you have the space, then you don't have to use the bin. So that's why it's so much nicer if you have garden space to plant it in the garden space. But when you run out of garden space, then you will be using your bins, and like we use our buckets. Another nice way about this is that this actually decomposes a lot quicker than putting it in your bins. So this is also really quick, because you'll see very soon, after a few weeks, our soil looks great and we can start to plant. Another nice reason I really love just putting it into the ground is that I don't have to keep turning the soil. So if you are going to use a bin, like a compost bin or a compost bucket, you actually have to turn the soil to get air in there. So you must remember, this is the soil. There are earthworms that like are living in here already. There's things that create air within the soil, so you don't have to do all this work. So for a girl like me that's starting up, that's not like hands-on in the garden, it's so much easier for me to build my compost and really put all the nutrients straight in the soil. But if you are obviously in an apartment and you also want to grow your own foods, and you will be using pellets and other ways to grow, you are going to have to make your compost in compost bins as well as buckets. Yeah, so those are like some of the big things. We are moving into making some bucket compost, so please make sure to check out that journey. But I will show you again a recap of this area. This area is an area we're going to use for our summer harvest, so you will see a lot of our plants will now be growing in this area, but don't worry, you'll watch it all with us. And yeah, so basically you will be watering this area every 2 days, just to make sure you're kind of getting everything going. But the biggest thing, as you can see, apart from closing it with soil, you can obviously close it with any soil, because all the soil will mix and will all be nice and healthy, is that you have to just make sure that everything is covered, because then it calls on pests. And then the area doesn't actually like serve what it's supposed to, which is, yeah, and that's it. So let us know how you started your garden. Did you purchase like a few packets of compost, or do you think you're going to try to maybe do this? So this is the area we just did now, 6 feet. That's actually a little bit of how it looked like before. So you can see the before and after. And there's our garden, and that entire garden started in the same way. So thank you so much for watching our video. Please make your own